Hello and welcome to today's review of the Transformers Legacy Bombshell. It's alright, he's definitely my favourite design in the robot mode, but he does have his issues, much like the other two. He's definitely still a bit wide and stocky, given proportions and whatnot, but oh well. His arms definitely hang further than I think they should. But I think that's partly due to the lower positioning of the shoulder joint. But whatever. And generally on the robot mode, it's not terrible. It looks fairly fine across the board. He does have a bit of a weird head design. It kind of impedes the movement massively. Even if you fold it in fully, still doesn't move much further. And that would only be for bug mode that this is useful. I think it's down to the engineering on how this panel on the back of the head works. What I think they should have done is remove this back section of the head. As you can see, it's already two pieces that they've cast and squished together. I think this panel should have been the back half of the head, because it does make the head go out a bit far, and if it was pulled further inwards, it wouldn't restrict the head movement as much. Just the piece is a bit chunky and it causes problems. And the head antennae thing, this little blaster thing that he shoots his cerebro shells from, is just a bit. It's whatever. I think it comes out too far from the head. Just this whole assembly just looks really goofy. It was definitely my least favorite part about the figure when he got revealed, and it still is my least favorite part about the figure. Generally, though, the robot mode is fine. Mine's got some bad paint here on the eye. Let's just focus on that. There is a spot on the eye of just poorly applied paint. And then if we move onto the sides of the head assembly, this speckle here and speckle here, where it's just chipped or whatever. There's a bit of weird molding here, just small little things on the head, but other than that, the rest of the figure is fine. No real complaints elsewhere. Even from the back, he's got an nice clean profile, and yeah, generally it's all right. So, what does he come with? He comes with his pea shooter. Now, I don't know if the barrel on this one is oriented the right way. What I'm saying is I think the sculpting is weird, because I have the New Age Legends class figure, or I mean Legends scale, it's third party, right? But on that gun, this section of the blaster is rotated horizontally, so these two sections are just the other way. And the barrel on that gun is a lot longer. I don't know which is correct. So we're going to move straight on to articulation. So for Bombshell's articulation, here we go. So shoulder goes all the way around, which is nice. Definite improvement over shrapnel. If we move these leg pieces out like so, you get pretty good movement on the shoulder due to the fact it's pinned. However, the problem here is due to the way this is sculpted, the joint looks really weird when positioned like so. It makes it look like the shoulder is all the way down here, which would be anatomically incorrect. I don't care if they're robots, right? The way these are designed is kind of based on human proportions for the most part, and that kind of fails abysmally. Even though the joint gets extra movement than what you'd get from some of the others. Anyway, you get a bicep swivel. You get elbows that are the same as shrapnel. Here you go. This is where a lot of these shared parts assembly really comes into place as well, because these sections for the bicep and this whole lower arm section, it's all the same parts. Then you move on to the legs. The legs are almost identical as well. This whole engineering, it's all the same. The torso is different, the head is different, the shoulders are different, but the arms and legs are identical. Anyway, enough from that sidetrack. Here we have little to no head movement, just kind of swivels side to side, and due to the fact it's on a swivel and not a ball joint or anything, you get no upwards or downwards or left or right movement. Wrist hinges go inwards for transformation, same as shrapnel. Like I said, arms are the same. Kind of disappointing, no wrists. you get this waist, which is alright. You get that much up and that much back. It's the same as shrapnel. 90 at the knees. If we straighten that down, wow. The ankles on mine are incredibly tight. They're only going out that much. Let's see about the other one. Maybe it's only meant to go that far. Thigh swivel goes all the way around, and the legs do the splits. I seem to have forgotten this for shrapnel, but hey, you can see it's pinned, so obviously it's going to move that way. And last thing to point out is a specialty joint on this guy. He's got backwards butterflies. I don't know why he doesn't have forwards butterflies. Surely they wouldn't have had to change too much of the way this works, because they could have just given us a small cut out here and then you get a bit of wiggle room forward, but whatever. Hasbro fumbling a bit, but oh well, I'm not surprised. Anyway, let's put the gun back in his hand. Just move on to the robot mode size comparison. And so for the robot mode size comparison, Shrapnel, Kickback, Ralph, Dove. Generally, again, they all look really good together. We're not really covering any new ground here, but there you go. Just kind of a look at Bombshell with everything else, and it's fine. So moving on from here, the transformation. So for the bug mode size comparison, here we have Shrapnel, Kickback, Ralph, Steve. And generally, they all look really nice together. I did say I would leave this for the final review. The bit where I kind of show all of the bugs off. And yeah, it's generally cool stuff. They all look nice. But I don't really know about scale for these guys. The Grasshopper is a giant compared to the Beetle and the other Beetle thing. Whatever this is, but I don't really care. I believe both Bombshell's a rhinoceros beetle. This is a different kind of beetle. He's a stag beetle, I believe. And then, you have Mr. Grasshopper here. I don't know which is bigger than what in real life, but hey, it's not so important. They're robots here. And for the storage on bug mode, you could put the gun on any of the 5mm ports. Generally, I would probably put it on the back. But due to the fact that it's got these sculpted sections that poke out with 5mm ports, it kind of can't go in much, otherwise you end up scratching all the paint and stuff, and it's just not wide enough. But yeah, generally bug mode looks fine. I think it's nice and squat. I definitely prefer this bug mode over the other two. I do like shrapnels, but arms kind of being so obviously visible, whereas this, it kind of cleans up a lot better. You've got these arms that are attached to the shoulder. You've got these detachable pieces. They come removed out of the box. You just kind of peg them in. You could take them off in robot mode if you didn't want them to be seen or whatever, but he's my favorite of the three bugs. And generally, he's cool. I don't hate anything he does. And so, for my final thoughts on Bombshell. So, final thoughts on Bombshell. He's alright, Like I said, he's a bit wide. I don't like the way the head is designed, and the shoulders, despite being a little bit better, they look really weird when you use the full range on them. That's, everything he does is requires a few tweaks, to actually be good. But other than that, I think the transformation on this one is by far the best of the three. It's the most interesting. The inclusion of the backwards butterfly joints is nice. I like the fact that it's got enough clearance on the inside of the torso to not scratch all the paint off of these. which is really welcome. Both of mine are basically pristine, so I'm sure that's definitely something to praise, and I do like the stripe that goes down this. I didn't really acknowledge it on Shrapnel, but he does have a similar thing going on. But Shrapnel also has these black vent sections, this mechanical detailing. It's also painted on Shrapnel, whereas Bombshell doesn't get that luxury. But oh well. If they were more consistent across the board with what's painted and what's not, that'd be a definite plus. But overall, the aesthetics on this guy, I'll give them a 4 out of 5 because I actively like what both modes are doing, despite the small issues that I have specifically with the robot mode. Bug mode, I don't actually have any complaints about that, which is actually really good in my books, really. Articulation is, on this guy is a 2.5 out of 5. He feels a little bit worse than Kickback. He's definitely slightly better than Shrapnel, but he's not like a whole point slightly better or anything. He's just kind of whatever. Transformation on this guy, it's definitely solid. It's not a free though, that's the problem. It's not a nice conversion that I find myself really enjoying and seeing something in. And it doesn't quite feel like the average. It feels a little bit less in terms of what you're doing to get from point A to point B. It's just, it's not the most interesting thing in the world, which slightly holds it back. And I'll just throw it in the same ballpark as Shrapnel, even though it's ever so slightly better. But it's definitely better than Kickback, which is definitely a good thing. And value for money in this guy, I will give him a 2.5 out of 5. Generally, across the board, I think he's a better experience than Kickback and Shrapnel, despite the fact that he doesn't come with as many accessories as either of the other two. I think the general build with the main robot is a lot better. The bug mode is by far the best of the three. The articulation is just as average, but, overall, this is just a better toy in my opinion. Definitely my favourite of the set. Sadly, he was the hardest to get hold of, at least here in the UK. But other than that, I have no real comments about this. I hope you enjoyed. This has been AnimatedCHUG. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.